We got a great guest, Robert Entin, at 15, 20 years. How long have we known each other?
Yep. Yeah, at least.
So at this point, I think goes beyond professional. I think I would call Robert a friend. People, I talk about what I do for a living, and I said basically what I tell people is I hang around with really smart people. Most of them are smarter than me, and that's always the way I've liked it because they challenge me. And Robert and I, over the years, we don't always agree on everything. But what we do is we allow each other to change each other's minds,
yes.
which is really cool,
yes.
right?
Yes.
And you present a case, I present a case. And because Robert is at Vornado in Manhattan, he's always my go-to. You and Joe, another half dozen or so folks.
Yep.
Between this small little group, you are on the pulse of what's going on in Manhattan.
Yes.
I mean, we talked all throughout the pandemic, Robert, how many cars are out, outside and stuff. So having Robert here is really pretty special to be able to talk about not just what's going on, at the conference, which we're going to take a couple minutes to go over, but what are the themes that are coming out of the conference as it relates to New York, big buildings, big tenants, and I'm excited to have this conversation. So let's start with the conference. What are the themes? I mean, what I'm hearing so far is worker shortage. I'm hearing supply chains on the hardware side, the smart building sides. Chips that were once 87 cents are now $17. Blew me away. I'm hearing, are we ever going back to the office in the normal way? What is hybrid? What are you hearing?
Well, I guess a couple of things. On the supply chain, the supply chain is a real problem for the moment, and prices are spiking because of supply demand.
Yep.
But I do think that, my opinion is, there's nothing you can do about it in the short run. There's conversations about move everything back to America to manufacture and so forth. The world, I believe, is globalized forever. It's just, from a scalability point of view, what's happened to our planet makes sense. The geopolitical situation, it does present some challenges, and you've pointed those out as well.
We've talked about those forever.
I don't think you go backwards there.
But you bring...
One more thing,
yeah.
and so the other thing that made it worse, well, you can thank our friend Jack Welch, 25 years ago, with just-in-time manufacturing.
Yep.
So when you look at almost any product, from raw materials to manufacture to assembly, because assembly is a big part of it, and where the parts come and go, there's such a critical path to get you from beginning to end onto the shelves that any disruption in that will create a big problem.
Well, I didn't really think about it in this capacity until I saw it happen. I had friends from China that I literally had dinner with in San Diego that were in San Diego to go to Mexico to take maquiladora businesses back to China. Okay, that was 15 years ago, right? And they did, right? And the supply chain moved over there because of the labor costs and the efficiency and the tooling. But now with COVID, not being able to get toilet paper to swabs to sanitizer and computer chips, does it come back to Mexico or other parts of the region? So it's more regional. So we don't have to have those ships travel across the ocean and.
I don't think so.
No?
No, I think it goes back to the way it was. Again, this is a short-term situation. Short-term meaning could be a year. But once the supply chain works itself out again, we're back to the other.
So you don't think manufacturing will come back to North America?
It's too expensive.
Okay.
It's just now, what would be interesting is if there was a free market that actually did things efficiently, the answer would be a couple things. One would be to create more buffers in the supply chain. So radical events don't really throw the world into a tizzy.
Exactly.
Number one. And number two, on the geopolitical side, my view would be, instead of the acrimony that we see in our political environment about China and others that could be adversaries and certainly are competitors, I think the answer is to not treat them as such and embrace with the EU the notion that we all have to spread out our global supply chains to multiple places so we ensure ourselves. And that could be done.
And I agree with that. However, I think if I was in those geopolitical positions, I would go in with that, but I would not go in with the level of naive, I can't even say the word, that we have for the last 30 years. I would go back to those tables, but with a much more stern position, saying, no more, we're here, we're going to negotiate, we're aware. We saw the pandemic, we saw what it did to our supply chains, and guess what? We're not just going to sit back and wait.
Well, on that we agree.
We agree, absolutely.
And I don't think it's been naivete over the last 30 years. I think it's been timidity.
Yeah.
I think they were aware.
And a little ignorance, frankly. I mean, I've read some books where people were in the rooms and they just took things for granted that they shouldn't have. You know.
Yeah, is it that or was it complacency? In other words,
Could have been, yeah.
you have a situation where you're able to get something for so much less money,
Yep.
and it's so convenient. And with the
And Americans were demanding that, less
and,
money.
You know, you think of the size of the shipping containers over the last 20 years.
Well, you know, and we're way off our topic, but we'll get to it in a second.
Okay.
But there's very few people I can have this conversation with. So if you're okay, let's go a few more minutes on this. Your manufacturing question, I think this could be an opportunity, though, for manufacturing to go to another level of innovation. So unfortunately, this means not 10 people in the room anymore. It means one person running the automation, doing the manufacturing. And this other little thing that we've been following for a while that is out there, and I'm going to the next event I can find on this topic, is 3D printing, right? Because multi-material 3D printing, where you can take something that's got rubber, plastic, and metal, and somehow build it in a 3D process. We're seeing a little bit of 3D printing going on in construction, hosing. Lennar just announced a big project, I think actually here in Phoenix.
I read about that.
So things that were once, so I think, real-time manufacturing, going back to Jack Walsh, could be in your daughter or son's bedroom when they need a bracelet.
True.
To go on.
It's interesting. I do think if you look at Tesla, is a good example.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking.
Very good example of being able to run a factory and kind of mitigate the labor costs with automation, and it's worked well.
So maybe Made in America is not the old kind of manufacturing; it's the next iteration that could really bring some
for certain things. So interestingly, my daughter is a mechanical engineer and works for a company that produces 3D printers. So she's been in.
So we need to talk.
And where are they assembled? China.
Yeah, but I get it. But now that we have a little different optics and view on it, I think we have to start bringing some strategic stuff absolutely back here.
Yeah, I just think there's so many other places in Southeast Asia where you can take advantage of a favorable labor rate, because some of the things you can bring here, like a Tesla plant, which assembles a very large product with a lot of automation, and the ratio of automation to labor is okay. But when you look at something like, call it a 3D printer or an iPhone.
Right, I get it.
There's just too much labor.
But I remember having a conversation with my daughter, and I was talking to her about a magic mirror idea, right? And she says, Dad, what's a magic mirror? I said, well, how you go to, all your stores, I don't remember the ones they went to, and you try to close on and you go in the mirror. I said, how would you like to go to a next generation retail where you stand in front of a mirror and you just say blue dress, and not this clunky animated crap that we see, but I mean it fits the body, it looks real, and then you say change it to red, change it to blue. And she goes, that's really cool. I go, well, I think that we might see some retailers that will combine that technology with a 3D printer, i.e. a loom, if you will. So you go get a cup of coffee and you come back and get your dress. She goes, Dad, I don't want that in a mall, I want that in my bedroom. So maybe that's 20 years out, okay? But I do think we're going to see some changes in manufacturing that are going to, and P.S., why wouldn't you have a 3D printer in an office building? Not like Kinko's. Remember on Kinko's you couldn't afford the $80,000 copier? Kinko's did, and they were in your lobby. So anyways, we could go forever. But I do want to pivot to Penn if that's okay.
Good. So, the problem is, by the way, they're slow.
Well, today they are. See behind me? That's right here? Okay, so I don't know if Chuck Branch is around, but Chuck and I have been hanging out for 20 years. We'd always go to CES. His partner invented the 42-inch gas plasma.
Right.
And I remember with Roger saying there was $25,000 for those clunky 42-inch gas plasmas. Roger said to me, he was at SAIC, he goes, it's going to be $25.20, and now they're $300 at Costco. So when this guy gets down to that, 3D printers will be right with it, and we're going to have a new world.
But just to close the topic, ironically, the reason they're $300 is
because they're made in China. Well, we're going to work on that. We got to bring some manufacturing back. All right, so let's pivot to Penn Station. You, Vornado, have always been innovators. New York City has gone through multiple renaissance. Digitization, digital transformation is now part of it. Give the audience a little overview of what Penn Station's all about.
So, over the years, we've accumulated an awful lot of square footage in and around the Garden and Penn Station.
Right.
I think today it's probably about 10 to 12 million square feet of our portfolio is right there, right around the Garden. So when you look and you go
that's Main and Main. That's Main Street and Main Street.
But remember, it's not Midtown. So that area of town has never been the highest rent district.
Right, but that part of Manhattan, that's Main and Main.
It's Main and Main. It's where I think 600,000 people a day travel in, and it is this. I think it's the second busiest transportation hub in the U.S. Penn Station. It's when people are back.
Right.
And that was a specific strategy of the company to accumulate that.
Transit-oriented development.
Because what's going to happen is, at some point, that neighborhood will get a complete refresh.
Right.
So what happens is you go back a few years, Hudson Yards happens, so it's several blocks to our west, and you see the beautiful buildings in Hudson Yards, which we were thrilled with.
Yeah, because it brought good neighbors.
Yeah, yeah. At first it was, isn't that going to take your tenants away? The answer is
no.
They're different tenants.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, after that, the strategy culminates where we're spending $2.5 billion on really what we're calling the Penn campus. It's no longer, so it's 1 Penn, 2 Penn, 11 Penn. Monahan Station is already there. Hotel Pennsylvania will come down, and a huge 2.8 million.
Do you have any renderings of that project?
You go to our website.
Hey, Mayor, if you see if you guys can get Penn Station up on the screen while we're chatting.
Yeah, if you go to vno.com.
vno.com.
And it's on the website.
vno.com, Penn Plaza. If you guys can pull a picture of it up there, that'd be great.
Yeah. There's a link right on the website.
See, and I believe in broadcasting, what we just did is going to become normal. This stage thing where everybody's all like this. Audience, pay attention for one, or hold for 1 second. We're going to get something up on the screen that's relevant. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
In this new digital fast speed world, to go a little impromptu, to me, I think that's cool.
So we're Monahan is open, and it's just phenomenal. As you know, Facebook took the entire
how many square feet?
730,000 square feet.
730,000 square feet.
Right. And as in New York City, as you know, between Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple, they're consuming square footage like you can't.
So are they going to are they all over, or are they in a certain area?
All over. They have a lot of leases in a lot of different places. So if we have Facebook in a couple of locations, we have Amazon in a couple, same with Google and Apple.
So have you been able, is this what we're looking at?
Yeah. So if you
go
to, now you can, Vornado campus, you can. Yeah. So Penn 1, which is a.
So we can turn a little bit and see.
Penn 1, which is a 2.4
or actually, we can look at it right there. So the audience.
So Penn 1, which is a 2.4 million square foot building, and this is a centerpiece. It was an older building. We've spent an enormous amount of time to turn it into a real amenity intensive building.
Hold right there for a second. So this looks.
So now the lobby's now been opened up. There's a grand staircase. That grand staircase is where there's a huge TV screen there. There's a sitting area. There's a restaurant.
Like
there's
what
a
you
gym.
did in Chicago?
Exactly like we did in Chicago.
Oh, very cool.
And that came out great at the Mart.
Yeah. It's a meeting area. It's a collaboration area.
Yeah, and that's what today's tenants want, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking at Penn 1 and Penn 2 across the street. If you go to
Can we go to Penn 2, guys?
Go to Penn 2, because that really is going to be very exciting. That's starting. So Penn 1 is virtually done. It's opened. I think we have our hard opening in another week.
Okay.
So that's 1 and 2 are going to be 4 million square feet together.
And thank you to the team for being so spontaneous. This is cool. No, we're good.
So Penn 2, we're building this bustle on the outside of the building.
What's a bustle?
A bustle it's a complete glass structure. Yeah, that's the bustle.
Wow, very cool.
Right, and that's.
So was that there before?
No, it's just a straight building right now.
Well, it's that little cantilever.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, and that's the new entrance to Penn Station. 33rd Street is completely closed at this point.
Wow.
And this is a part of the renovation. When we're done with the whole area, you won't be able to recognize.
So we're going to go over a little bit, Mayor. How important is technology in this project? Let's talk about that.
So that's huge.
Right.
So the tenants now are coming to a place where it's more like a hotel and a resort than a traditional office building, and that's the philosophy.
Yeah.
Anything you want, you should be able to get, and you should be able to get on your phone. So we've been spending a lot of time on, obviously, a tenant amenity app. We're very well into it, and we're connected.
Do tenants like Facebook want to collaborate with you on that, or is you driving it?
No, this is us, because what we have is it's all the facilities in the building between, again, the restaurant, grab and go, massage. There's a health, a wellness center. There's conference centers, co-working. We run our own parking business now.
Wow.
So all of those services.
Have you gone to the elevators yet?
The destination direct elevators are.
No, I'm talking the parking where the elevators park.
Oh,
the car.
no.
Okay.
Yeah, that's too much of an infrastructure to change, under the building. But we took over parking from an outside server, an outside service a while ago, really to provide better service. And that's now
looks
integrated.
Beautiful. I mean,
yeah, it's going to be phenomenal.
Absolutely gorgeous property. So when is it ready?
Well, so Penn 1's open.
Penn 1's done.
And
so if I walk in there, does it feel new, modern?
Oh yeah.
Can I?
You'll
not just from the design standpoint or the materials, but from the technology.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if you walked into Penn 1 now, it's a really amazing experience.
Cool.
So what's the challenge for us has been the size of the network.
Right.
So this network, we already have a fairly large wide area network across our campus for IoT and
Right.
IP backbone, but the challenges at Penn 1 alone, and now you've got a lot of other, as the other buildings
Yeah,
come
hold there.
online.
That's a good shot. Say again?
So as at Penn 1 alone, between all the digital screens that we have everywhere and all the services in the building, and keeping the network separate and doing the segmentation and VLANing has been real challenging.
I don't know how long she's going to let us go, but okay. So you just made me think we need to do. We'll talk about if you want to have the conversation online, but a Realcomm Live episode, our Friday episodes, to talk about cyber as it relates to all that, because with all that digital technology and branding and screens, what's your position on cyber? And the last thing you want is some goofball hacking into that.
No, we spend an enormous amount of time on security on the building network for that exact reason.
Yeah.
You can't have a sign, have something show up that you don't want to show up. So,
No.
And unfortunately, like the whole IoT space, you have a large in-building network, and you do have vendors who need to get in.
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
Right, so with all the segmentation, multi-factor authentication, only tunneled in, nothing exposed to the internet. We're doing all the
So you've been listening to the headlines and building this cyber infrastructure in place.
And I don't want to say I think that cybersecurity isn't complicated, but it's about good hygiene. Yeah. If you do the right things and you have the fundamentals, and
it's never perfect.
No, but it's a lot of blocking and tackling is what it comes.
And I was always afraid as cyber, and we've been together on the cyber topic for a number of years, as it became more prevalent, would we spend too much money on defense and not able to afford that good quarterback, right? And it feels the last couple of years, a lot of conversation on cyber. It was required. We need to get the defense shored up.
Yep.
It's still not there. There are too many companies who ignore it.
Yeah.
But for somebody like you, it sounds like you're working on it. It's part of the culture.
It is.
And yet you're still able to spend a lot of time on offense.
Yeah, no, we've been at this for 10 years. Yeah. We took over all of our building networks 10 years ago. We've already been through. Yeah. We've been.
You were the first one with a BOC, building operations center.
And we have been through 2 network rebuilds already.
Wow.
So we have a gigabit path between all of our buildings, multiple paths in, automatic failovers. We have 2,700 cameras that feed into a security operations center. We can do it at scale because of our campus.
We're way over time, and she's going to come and yank me. But what that tells me is you've got years and years of experience being at the top of the food chain. So anybody who doesn't take the time to pay attention to Robert and Vornado, and P.S., this guy, he could sit here and not come to the conference and say, I'm not telling anybody anything, but this guy's been sharing no matter what he's doing with the industry for over 20 years. He gives back, he's a leader, and it takes more. We need more like Robert, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's always fun. All right, that wraps the segment, and we will be right back. Thank you.